Hi there, Private Plant Girl here. So today I'm working on getting my garden ready for winter. As you can probably see by looking around, there's not a lot growing here anymore. We've had some pretty hard freezes. We've had very cool nights, a little bit of cool days, and some beautiful warm days. I'm actually overdressed for today. Um, but our day length is drastically getting shorter, it seems like every week, which it does this time of year here. So it's time to pull the garden out and get it all tidied up here before winter. It's nice to have it all cleaned up and ready to go next spring. So I've decided this year to try something new, and I thought I'd bring you along to do it. My bins right now, my compost bins, are full of yard waste and, of course, kitchen scraps because we're always adding. But what I'm lacking is the leaves. So I have lots of greens right now, but no browns. And even though we're into fall, the leaves, the trees haven't quite got the message yet. So I'd like to get my compost bins emptied out so that they're ready because I like to be able to just keep filling them up over the winter, and I like to have one of them filled with leaves once the leaves start falling, so that I can get a nice mix going and it's ready to cook in the spring. So what I've decided to do with all that yard waste this year is I'm digging a trench down my raised beds, burying it, covering it over. That'll serve two purposes. It will, well, three, I guess, because it'll get rid of the excess of greens that I have built up right now. It'll feed the soil in my raised beds, and it'll raise the level up, which a lot of them could use. So it'll help to raise some of that up a little bit. As the things decompose, they do break down, they get smaller, but it'll go a long way to helping with that. So I've already done the bed in front of me. I did that a few days ago. So I just dug a trench, I know about 30 centimeters wide, probably 45 centimeters deep, I would say, maybe 30 centimeters deep, probably 45. Um, I got down to the clay layer that's under my raised beds anyways, so I got that trench dug out from end to end, filled it with quite a bit of yard waste, um, and then I just covered it back up with what I had, kind of raked it out all smooth, and then I cut the grass today, so I just laid that on top just for somewhere to put it. It'll help keep the weeds down a little bit, but it's not a thick layer, so it won't really keep the ground too insulated. Um, I'm hoping doing it now. It's the middle to end of September, September 21st, I think. Yeah. So I was hoping that by doing it now, things will have quite a bit of time to break down in the soil before we get a freeze up. That'll probably be in the next month to 2 months, just depends on what our weather decides to do here. We usually have some snow by the end of October. It can happen earlier, it can happen later. But anyway, so it'll give things time to get breaking down, get the worms and all the microorganisms and everything doing their job in the soil before it gets too cold. And then the winter process, as we get, the ground will be completely frozen to that level. Um, that will break down the molecular structure, the cell walls of the waste that's in there, and then that'll make it just decompose that much faster when things heat up in the spring. So that's my plan. That's my goal. Hopefully, I'm right on all this. But so I'm going to work on this bed behind me here. Um, this bed had my peppers in it. I've been slowly pulling them up. Somehow they've survived. Some of them have survived anyways, the cold weather we've had. I did have them covered up with a double layer of fabric for a couple of cold nights, but now I've just been leaving them. And they haven't been flowering or producing more fruit. And honestly, I don't think the fruit's really been maturing out here. So I've decided to just take off what's left, take it in the house, and just be happy I'm still picking a few peppers in the end of September. And otherwise, I'm going to get these out. I have a few carrots in here. These have been planted for months, so I'll take what I can out of these, pull up the drip lines, and I'll be ready to dig a trench and empty my compost in. So come on and let's get to work. Okay, so I've cleared most of the peppers out of this side, but I want to get these carrots. Hey, Buster. Hi. Okay, out you go. Out you go. So I can't remember the exact date that I planted these carrots, but they've been in here for a few months. I want to say these are mokum, but I'm not sure because they were just an extra planting I did, and they haven't done much. We'll take these in and wash them up, and I'm sure someone will eat them. So that's the peppers out. Now I just have a little bit of dill and some marigolds and zinnias. Seems a shame to pull them up, but really we'll be having snow before we know it. So I'd rather get this job done and be doing it now while it's nice out. I haven't dug up these beds since I put them in. So it was kind of, I don't know, I wasn't sure about what to do. You know, you want to leave that structure that of all the microzoa and everything, but I think adding the organic matter and freeing up that space for me would be better. So, and I'm just doing it down the center, so I'm not disturbing everything. Okay, so I have my drip lines just pinned down with little pins, so I'm going to go through, pull those out, and then I can get digging. I haven't walked on these beds since I built them either, but now unfortunately I lent my good shovel out to someone. So I was this. Oh, this is soft. There's an eggplant stalk in here. Maybe should have put runners on. Oh well. So I'm just gonna dig a trench down the middle here. For any of you wondering, because I've had questions before, these beds were filled initially with a mixture of store-bought compost, composted steer manure, composted sheep manure, and peat moss. I think it's like something like 50 to 75% peat moss, and then vermiculite. Not all the beds had vermiculite as it's costly, and I found it hard to get a hold of sometimes. So, and then every year since then, I've added homemade compost and sometimes I'll add, depending on what I'm planting, some more steer manure that's been composted. And in the fall, I usually take any flower pots or containers that I grow vegetables in, and I dump them into the beds as well. Oh, and when I first built these, I forgot, but I'm seeing bits of tape, which is what it's from, is I put a layer of cardboard on the ground before I started filling the beds. That's what I was growing in before. It's actually, I think, gotten more crumbly, but it was definitely clay. And clay is good, it holds lots of nutrients, but it can be kind of difficult to work with. So this, I'm getting to the bottom of my one composter, and it's been sitting for a while, and it had some leaves when I started this, so it's a little bit more broken down than the other day. Okay, so got some stuff out of my bin here and filled up this trench. You'll see there's a lot of sticks and things. That's because the bottom of this compost bin, I had added what was left of my leaf pile, and what was left of my leaf pile had a lot of bits of little twigs and things in it. So there's a lot of sticks, the leaves are broken down, but the sticks and twigs are still there. So when I was planning this project, I planned out where I'm planting things for next year, and I made sure to pick beds to put the stuff in that is going to not have like carrots or parsnips or something that's not going to want to run into a stick or a twig if that happens. So now that I've done about half, maybe a third of the bed, I'm going to dig out the next part and just dump that soil on that first area. And just keep going, making my way down this strip. Okay. One or two scoops left here. Most of this in the bottom is basically compost now. So I think I can start emptying out the other bin. That's great. Hope there's no wasp nests. I haven't been in here in a while. Won't work. So there's not a ton of room left here, but a couple of scoops of this. This is a lot of cutting back from my flower pots, petunias, cannas, things like that. So this should break down pretty quick. I think underneath there is some brassicas. I want some vines. So I think that's probably all I'm going to put in that trench. Maybe over there. Okay. So now I'm just going to cover this over. This trench method is what I used a lot before I had the raised beds. Um, it goes a long way to breaking up clay. Like this clay in other parts of my yard, you couldn't do this with. It would not come back apart if you did that. But when you're constantly adding organic matter, like I was for years, it does make a big difference. So you might think, just doing this, you might think that I'm going to wind up with a lot of weeds in my garden beds, but like I said, I don't normally do a lot of digging in my garden beds other than just to plant plants. And these things, for the most part, everything's going to be buried down quite a ways. So the weed seeds are all under the ground, and as long as they stay under the ground, they can't get the light, they're not going to grow. So there might be a few more weeds next year, but not any big amount. And if I just pull them up right away before they can take hold and produce seed, then I'll be fine. And that's really, to me, the key to keeping your garden beds, weed free is I plant close together, so weeds don't have a lot of chance to get started once I have things in the beds. And B, when weeds do happen, I pull them out just as I'm working in the beds. And I don't have to do that very often, but if I see a weed, I pull it, and then it doesn't have a chance to take hold and turn into a bigger issue. And it doesn't hurt to bring some of this clay up to the surface. And like I said, clay's full of nutrients, so it'll just add, if you mix it in with the more humus-filled soils, it kind of disperses those nutrients and makes them a little more accessible. It's always been my theory. Tell me in the comments down below what you think of that. Oh, don't you just love being able to run your hands through soil? This makes me want to plant. But that would be for nothing. I'm waiting for some garlic. I don't know what that is. I'm waiting for some garlic to come so that I can get some garlic planted. Hopefully it arrives soon. I don't think it's even shipped yet, but hopefully soon. I always get a little panicked when I'm waiting for things like that this time of year. Because you never know here when winter's just going to decide to just push its way in and get comfy. So there's that bed all done. It looks a little bit high right now, but like I said, you have to remember that as things break down, they get smaller. So it'll be, I'm thinking, quite good by the time I go to planting it next year, and I'll add some nice organic matter, and maybe just that little bit more compost in the bottom there. So I've got 2 beds done with that method so far. The next one I'd like to do is right over there, and it's still full of potatoes. So I'm gonna have to get the potatoes out before I can work on that one, and I'd like to leave them for another week or so if I can. So we'll see. We'll see where I get with those. And then the garden, once I get this done, is almost done for the year. I have, like I said, there's garlic going to go in that bed right there. And I have a few little carrots that probably aren't going to do anything. I might just leave them and see if they're still there in the spring. We'll see. And there's some parsnips and carrots and beets in the next bed. And then the next little bed over has some potatoes in it as well. That's all that's left. So just some root crops to get out of here. Um, I've my big pots are just kind of behind you there. I've pulled those all out, cleaned them out, and actually I've taken my flower pots were still flowering and looking not too bad considering the weather we've had, and I haven't been really taking care of them other than water. So I just took the flowers, I plunked them in the big pots. It looks pretty for now, and that gave me an opportunity to clean up the flower pots, all the little miscellaneous pots around the yard. I still have tomatoes going in my little cold frame too. So there's still stuff happening, but for the most part, we're slowing down and it's coming to an end here. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.